Okay, so, hi, hello, welcome back to another Creepypasta video. Today, this Creepypasta is the Russian sleep experiment, but before I get into the story, I do want to say this video is kind of a special one. This is pretty much my birthday video. So, I was born on June 5th, and today is, well, I'm recording this on June 4th, but this will be going live on June 5th. So, today's video goes up will be my birthday. So, I'll be turning 21, and I do just want to say thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. It means a lot to me. But before I get into the story, I do want to say a few things. First off, the video is a one take, so if you hear me stumble, mumble, fumble, and mess up my words, I am sorry. This is a one take. Hopefully I'll be able to edit my videos in the future, but that's kind of like uncertain at the moment. But hey, it is what it is. Second thing I do want to say, please consider using code GOONS at gamersubs.gg. It's code GOONS. You get 10% off at checkout, and GamerSup's the equivalent of Kool-Aid for adults. They have caffeinated and non-caffeinated versions, and they have drinks inspired by, or drinks that are like made after or made in collaboration with famous YouTubers such as Jay Schlatt, Pay Money Wubby, and I think Bao, and now Shy Lily. Well, Shy Lily's been there, but you know what I mean. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. The link is in the description. Okay, so outside of that long intro, let's get into it. This is the Russian sleep experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days, using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake, so the gas didn't kill them. Since it was toxic in high concentrations, this was before closed-circuit cameras. So they only had microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books and cots to sleep on, but no bedding, as well as running water, a toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complain, and had been promised falsely that they will be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. The general tone of their conversations took a darker tone and took on a darker aspect after the 4th day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering into the microphones and one-way mirror portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades. The other subjects in captivity with them turning over the comrades and the other subjects in the captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight, at which point he continued attempting to scream, but he was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior was how the other captives reacted to it, or rather didn't react to it. They continued to whisper into the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart and smeared page after page of their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass porthole. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering into the microphones. After three days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure that they were working, since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be occurring with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they The researchers did something they said they will not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the people they were afraid of. People they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one view your immediate freedom." And to their surprise, they heard a calm voice respond in a single phrase. "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research, unable to provoke any more responses using the intercom. It was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flush of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately the voices and the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open and soldiers were sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been touched, and there were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking it and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, and not with teeth. As the researchers initially thought, and even when they did closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds, indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact, but had been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen working, digesting food, and it quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of the days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still, many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. The subjects themselves continued to scream to be left in the chamber, and they begged and demanded that the gas will be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out, and another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had their spleen ruptured and bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative, and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of a doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out, to the point where there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the three was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative that had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought fiercely against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist. Even though the weight of 200-pound soldier holding that wrist, it took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under. And the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. The muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, and he was unable to beg or object to surgery. He only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested reluctantly that they should try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for entire 6-hour procedures of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should not be medically possible for a patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and a pad. He fetched it so the patient could write his message. It was simple, and it was a simple message, and it said, "Keep cutting." The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both with anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously, and once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the intending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their systems in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves and why they had ripped out their own guts and why they want to be given the gas again. Only one response was given: "I must remain awake." All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of the military benefactors for having failed the stated goal of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, who was an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but they were overruled. In preparations for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to a EEG monitor and had the restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that, at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again, for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired to EEG machine, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on a paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw the man's eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to the bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things, and not with you," he screamed, at the man strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. "We are you, and we are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." The researcher paused and then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined and the subject weakly choked out. So nearly free. Okay, so that was the Russian sleep experiment. I also like to apologize for that story too. I don't know why. It's like on where I read the stories, just having the white text and a black background really messes up my eyes. I think I need glasses, but hopefully y'all enjoyed the Russian sleep experiment. I don't really have much else to say about that. I thought this would be a fun, story to read as a birthday video, so hopefully y'all enjoyed. My narration of it wasn't the best, but still, thank you guys for watching this video. It means a lot to me. And yeah, I do have a lot better stories that I have read in the big playlist I have. I think it's about to be 90 videos in there as of recording this video, because I still have videos scheduled up to mid-July at the moment, so it's pretty cool. But I'll keep you guys here for a little bit longer though. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is my birthday video. I'll be 21 tomorrow, or by the time this comes out, I'll be 21 on June 5th. In 1 year, I managed to engross 417 subscribers on YouTube. So, if we get the same growth next year, I'll be at 800. It would be closer to being able to have ads on the videos. Also, I'd like to apologize because my Grinning Man video, so apparently when a video reaches 100 views, it automatically puts ads on my video. I make no money off the ads on my videos, so for now, I would recommend watching my videos with an ad blocker, because F YouTube. That's kind of scummy how they don't give me a cut of the money from the content I create. So yeah, I'm the one YouTuber asking to watch their videos with ad block. So, that's it. But yeah, I do appreciate you guys watching. All my links are down below. You'll find gamer subs, my links down below. My 18 up Twitter where I post uncensored art. My Twitter where I post my regular art and all that lovely stuff. So, I don't have anything else to say, but I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye everyone.